Hey guys, Marstinkin here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so we found out yesterday from some data mine stuff from Air Dokkan, shout out to him. The desktop version of Twitter is actually down at the moment, so I can't show the tweet from him. But basically, it seems like the Golden Week celebration stuff that's coming up on JP, thanks to what's been shown in V-Jump, is going to be GT related. And so one of the first things that we know is that the LRB pan is going to be getting an Easy A. This is going to be really good because she's actually really useful. A lot of no item Super Battle Road runs, she was actually really useful on the team, like Goku Family, Youth. The fact that she does have the potential to be a very solid tank, as well as having the ability to heal off of the damage that she does, makes her really useful in a lot of difficult events. Now, we don't know what her Easy A is going to be like. We do have a form up at the moment. Go check out the 59 Gaming. We did tweet out the form for you guys to give us your fan-made versions of what you think her kit is going to be. We're still in the process of picking our favourite ones to record for the final video. So if you haven't submitted one yet, by the time you see this, make sure you go out and check their Twitter page. I think it's all working on the other apps, it's just not on the desktop. So the link to the form is there. You can tell us what you think her Easy A will be like, and a few of them will get picked to be in the video. So I think the most important thing for me is that we get rid of this high chance of her damage reduction, because there's nothing worse than relying on her to tank in some of those harder events and then that damage reduction doesn't actually activate, because then even though she does heal a little bit based on the damage that she does, if they don't match up proportionately, like if she's taking way more damage than she's healing you back, then she's not really worth her spot on the team. She can stun as well, which is obviously, again, super useful in the events where that can happen. But I definitely think that the RNG factor of her tanking is one of the things that is the biggest detriment to her card. So let me know what you think down below. Obviously, submit one of those forms for the 5-9 thing if you want, or just let us know your ideas for what you think her Easy A could be down below in the comment section. But the big thing that I wanted to talk about is the fact that we are finally getting some sort of update for the legendary Goku event. So this came out a long time ago now, so on JP, actually, yeah, we're not that far away from May. So yeah, this is almost 2 years old, this event, and whilst they have added new missions along the way for you to beat it with specific category teams, they've never done anything else to the event. And obviously when this first came out, you know, we theorized almost straight away, like, oh, you know, we're going to get a legendary Vegeta event or a legendary Frieza event. And there's, you know, a couple of other characters, Cell, Boo, all these characters that have multiple different forms, where you could have an event like this. And then, of course, Infinite Dragon Ball History came along. And one of the most recent, it's not the most recent anymore, but one of the most recent stages that they added to that was the Majin Buu stage, where you fight every single transformation of Majin Buu. And at that point, I think a lot of us really thought they never were going to update this, because that Infinite Dragon Ball History stage is basically the legendary Buu event, because just like this event, it's all the different forms of Buu all the way up to the end, and he's the only person that you fight, whereas every other stage of Infinite Dragon Ball History is all multiple different characters. So it really seemed like that was going to be the end for the legendary Goku event. But one of the things that has been revealed by Air Dokkan is that there is going to be a, we don't know whether it'll be, I'm assuming it'll be a new stage under the same heading rather than a separate event, but we don't know. It could be under its own heading in the menu. But there is going to be a GT themed version of the legendary Goku event. So kind of funny that it seems like it is still going to be Goku centric. It's now just going to be GT based, whereas obviously the current event is more based on Super and like the current canon, because obviously it includes Super Saiyan God, Blue, and then both versions of Ultra Instinct. So the event is 8 stages. You can't stun or seal all the way through. Once you get to God Goku, you can't lower attack. And then once you get to STR UI Goku, he can dodge. And then, of course, once you get to Int UI Goku, your units can't dodge. So if we take a look at the various GT Gokus over here, because this is, you know, seemingly the way it's going to go. So we've got the base form GT Goku. Then obviously we have the Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3. Then there is this one Super Saiyan 3 Golden Great Ape Goku. I feel like what they would probably do for this event is have him go from the Super Saiyan 3 GT Goku into the actual Golden Grey Ape. So the next phase would be you versus the Golden Ozaru Goku, and then once you've beaten that phase, then we would go on to Super Saiyan 4, and then potentially the last one would be full power Super Saiyan 4. Now obviously Heroes, we have not yet seen the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4s added to Dokkan. They'll probably come at some point, who knows, maybe even with the next Heroes banner, now that we've actually had a whole bunch of Super Saiyan 4s the last time, although we still haven't had the Xeno Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta, so I think they would probably do them first before they jump up to the Limit Breakers, but that could potentially be the final stage. I just don't feel like they would add that in until they've already added the Xeno Super Saiyan 4s and then Limit Breaker into the game. It would be a very interesting thing, because I mean, we've had in certain events, they have added in bosses or boss characters that weren't like playable cards in the game, so I do think that would be kind of cool. That would probably bring a little bit of hype to the event when it drops, although like I say, it is very much a Heroes thing rather than being GT focused. So when we look at those number of forms, if we include the Golden Ozaru after Super Saiyan 3, that is only 7 stages. And obviously the original Infinite Dragon, the Fighting Legend Goku event is 8 stages. So there's no reason why they couldn't make it just 7 stages and maybe make each of the ones slightly more difficult. But obviously if they did want to round it out to the exact same number of stages, we could either have this Goku as the final boss after Full Power Super Saiyan 4, because even though he's back to just being base Goku again, this is obviously the Spirit Bomb Goku that defeats Omega Shenron at the end. Or I feel like what they could do is, even though we would have this kid like base form GT Goku, they could make the very first stage, if we scroll all the way back up here to the base Gokus, the artwork for this guy here, obviously this is the Goku from the end of Z where he fights Oob in the tournament, but at the beginning of GT, him and Oob are training, and he's obviously in his adult form before the wish gets made on the Black Star Dragon Balls to turn him back into a kid. So that could be the first stage, and then the second stage after that wish has been performed would then be him as the kid GT Goku, and then obviously we go through the Super Saiyan stages all the way up to Full Power Super Saiyan 4. I feel like Full Power Super Saiyan 4 would probably be the last one. Now the other thing that bears in mind thinking about is, how are they going to make this event more interesting? Because the Legendary Goku event, when it first came out, it was really hard. It was probably one of the hardest events in the game until people sort of figured out the trick, which was of course to bring a team that is made up of a significant number of, if not entirely of, units that can infinitely stack their defense. Because basically this event, because it's one continuous fight, I'm sure you all know this at this point, but you can just continue to stack your defense. You can bring a whole team of stackers. I mean, this team has even been beaten with like mono tech, no items, even though Int UI Goku is one of the hardest hitting bosses in the game, because by the time you get to the end with a bunch of units that infinitely stack defense, their defense is so insanely high that they barely even take damage from super attacks, let alone the normal attacks. So I feel like they need to do something to make it a little bit more interesting, because if they release it just like this, basically the same as the existing one, I feel like, you know, there's not going to be a huge amount of difficulty, because even nowadays they bring out quite a lot of free-to-play units or EZAs of older units that have been in the general pool for a long time that infinitely stack defense. So I think a lot of people out there, unless you're a brand new player, you probably can make multiple teams of units that are full of units that can stack their defense. So if they don't do something to mix it up a little bit, that could definitely be bit damaging to the event, just because it'll be a bit too easy. So what kind of things could they do? So something I mentioned on Twitter the other day, someone thinks that this would make it way too hard, but I think it'd be interesting. You could have the Goku boss, depending on the stage, maybe halfway through the event and then again in the second to last stage. Just have him have his super attack be an AoE, so it hits all of your characters on the rotation. Maybe it doesn't do a huge amount of damage, because obviously we don't want this to be an attack that just, you know, one-shots you and kills your run. But the attack, whilst it may not do a lot of damage, it hugely reduces your unit's defense. Like, massive debuff. Even more so than, like, existing units in the game that have massively lowers defense. Because then it means if you've got your units like your, you know, AGL, LR Gohan, Tech Trunks, etc., etc., you know, they're up to like 300k defense at this point or something, and then they get hit with this super attack and it drops their defense straight back down to like 60k, for example. That I don't think that would make the event impossible. It would just take away all of that build up that you've done so far, and then you would have to essentially start again. And I feel like that would make it so that you'd have to think a little bit more about your team building as opposed to just bringing units that infinitely stack defense. The other thing they could do as well potentially is, I don't know if they would keep in the dodge feature, because obviously that is very specific to like UI Goku. It's very intrinsic to his character. For both the final stages with the Super Saiyan 4, they could have it so that he has a percentage chance to counter your super attacks. Maybe the counter doesn't do a huge amount of damage, but that would be pretty crazy, because obviously when it comes to you using the Super Saiyan 4s in normal events, you know, the enemies aren't super attacking you every single attack, apart from in specific, like, bosses in Infinite Dragon Ball history or Battlefield, for example. Whereas this Goku, like most of us, if you've built your team correctly and everybody's getting the right links and ki, every single unit is going to be super attacking. So all 3 units on rotation are supering, and then maybe he has a certain percentage chance to counter a super. Maybe once he counters a super that turn, then he can't do it again, because obviously you could get the absolute nightmare RNG that he literally counters all 3 of your attacks. But again, they could make it so the counter doesn't do a huge amount of damage, and then you could, you know, some of your units who are maybe a little bit, you know, worse defensively, you could deliberately not super with them, and then, you know, super with somebody who could take it if Goku actually countered. Like, I think that those kind of things would add interesting new ways to build your teams and ways to complete the event that wouldn't just be what we have now, which is bring a whole team of units that can stack defense. So those are just a couple of thoughts off the top of my head. Let me know what you guys think. If it is going to be 8 stages, what do you think the lineup would be? Or do you think they would just keep it to 7 and go over all of those GT forms that we mentioned? And then what sort of special rules and abilities do you think they could add to make the event a little bit more interesting? I want to know all of that down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.